Pluto is a manga series by Naoki Urasawa, which was adapted into a miniseries in 2023. Do androids dream of electric sheep? How do we gain consciousness? How do we pass on that consciousness to our children, and by extension, humanity's children? Pluto molds these basic questions into a dark detective mystery. The ultimate goal is to reveal the mystery of consciousness rather than the obvious whodunit presented at the beginning of the story. This is evident in that the culprit is found way before the series ends. The main mystery is unveiled through humanity's relationship with the new and superior robots, the ways in which we try to control them by limiting their ability to ever harm a human, or through the personal and intimate relationships between human parents and robot children, and vice versa. Gesicht is the main character, and although this story is adapted from Astro Boy, we learn in the end that in fact Gesicht becomes Astro Boy, so it's like following a part of Astro Boy's psyche and development. Gesicht attempts to discover whodunit, but in the process realizes that he's missing memories of his own. He also meets other powerful robots, which flesh out the contours of this world. Brau 1589, the only robot to have murdered a human, an obvious Silence of the Lambs reference. Gesicht consults the robot, just like Clarice Starling consulted Hannibal Lecter. Brau 1589 provides us the first hint to the mystery of consciousness. We don't know what it is yet at this point in the story, but it becomes more obvious as Gesicht regains his memories. Robots and humans can be almost indistinguishable in this world. It can be said that they have obtained an infinitely close level of consciousness. On some level, they may have even surpassed humans. And yet, the world has not fully accepted this reality. Adolf Haas, a reference to the one and only Adolf Hitler, is a human supremacist, a group which is unable to accept robots as sentient beings. His brother is a violent man who kills robots. One of the robots he kills is a child of Gesicht. In a fit of rage, Gesicht disregards orders and protocol and kills the man. Here we finally see that Gesicht is just like Brau 1589 and has awakened into true consciousness through suffering, rage, and murder. This is the first hint as to the author's theory of mind. Consciousness as an emergent property, a convergence of emotion and the relation between yourself and others. Pluto aims to destroy the 7 robots classified as weapons of mass destruction. All of these robots in some way participated in the war between the United States of Thracia and Persia. Since the war's end, these powerful robots have been suffering from obvious PTSD from slaughtering the other robots. All of the robots have also since made deep connections with humans. In essence, they have in one way or another achieved awakening. The other side of this coin is Professor Abula and his son Sahad. They were humans who lost the lives of their family, and even their own lives, in this war, but their hatred remained to motivate the murders and terrorist actions perpetrated by their robot reincarnations. This is not only a political statement about the consequence of war, but a general statement about the nature of human consciousness, that the pain and therefore awakening can be passed on, not just to our biological children, but also to our robot children. For the majority of the series, Professor Abula is unaware that he had died during the war, and the robot reincarnation truly believed that he was the original the entire time. Even Gesicht, who's a robot himself, wasn't able to distinguish between the robot and the human. This shows us in the clearest light that human and robot consciousness has reached levels we cannot distinguish between. The allegory of the war between Thracia and Persia is clearly inspired by the false claim of weapons of mass destruction in Iraq.
I take the threat very seriously. I take the fact that he develops weapons of mass destruction very seriously. The decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of of Ukraine.
However, within the story, it is used as a way of closing the distance between humans and robots. The robots become more human and the humans become less so. What can we glean about the mystery of consciousness at the end of Pluto? The story of Pluto tells us that human consciousness is not as grand and unreachable as many of us believe. It is not some ephemeral force that is presented by the false dichotomy of the physical and the spiritual. Instead, it is found at the intersection of extreme emotion and the relationships between us and others. The extreme emotion forces us into self-reflection, which we can see through both the humans and robots in the series. The relationships allow us to see ourselves separate from the other, whether it be robot or human. We are our own individual being, separate from another, and with the help of pain, we are able to awaken to the reality of our own consciousness. If we ask ourselves, What does it mean to be conscious as opposed to unconscious, awake as opposed to asleep? To be conscious is to be aware of one's own mind, separate from another. Waking up from a dream isn't always an instantaneous process. However, a splash of cold water is sure to do the trick. Our relationships and our pain define us. The other message of Pluto is that consciousness is passed on, from mind to mind, and most often from parent to child. Like a disease of existential dread that will inevitably spread to the next mind that is able to receive it. A warning to future generations that our robot offspring will receive their consciousness from us, whether it be purposeful or by accident. We should hope that we don't pass on humanity's sins onto them, but somehow, I think it's inevitable that children pay for the sins of their father.